why it can be okay to buy 3 negative cash flow or negative geared properties as opposed to just buying 1 positive cash flow. Hey guys, it's Dilleen here. In this video, I'm very excited to share with you an amazing strategy and principle. Now, this video might shock a lot of you out there, as over the last decade of myself buying properties and building my own portfolio and helping others build their portfolio too, you probably would know by now I generally stick to the 3 key principles, which is buying properties with capital growth, very good strong rental yield or positive cash flow, and buying properties that are below market value. Now today, I'm doing this video because I want to give you a live example on the whiteboard to share with you how my thought process works today in the current interest rate environment, and also how I've learned to grow and adapt and build my property investment strategy from now having over 80 properties in my portfolio. I've got the whiteboard here. I'm going to show you a couple of different examples. I had a question asked to me over the last week, and I was speaking to a client and they were saying, Eddie, yeah, but I want the property to be positive geared. I want it to be positive cash flow. Positive cash flow can be very different to positive geared, but we'll cover that in another video. If you check out on YouTube, I'll tell you the differences between positive cash flow and positive geared, but we'll go off positive cash flow for this particular scenario. I was on the phone with a client and they were saying, I want the property to be positive cash flow. The property that you've shown me is actually going to be negative $10, I think it was like $15 per week. Well, $15 per week. I basically said to them, well, what would you rather? Would you rather have 3 properties that are a tiny little bit negative momentarily or in the very short term, such as like 3 to 6 months, which is a very short term perspective anyway? Or would you rather just 1 property that is positive cash flow by like $50, $60 per week? And they were like, oh, well, to me, yeah, it makes sense to have more, there's still the positive cash flow. And I said, well, look, to me personally, I would rather have 3 properties being negative $15 per week each and hold them 3 rather than just having 1 property which is positive by $60 per week cash flow. And the reason why I would prefer 3 properties that are, you know, maybe a little bit negative as opposed to just having 1 that's positive is because I'm holding more real estate. I'm holding a greater total worth of the properties that are in my portfolio. Let's go off an example of a property that is 300,000. We're gonna buy 1 property for 300,000, and I'll show it to you in a second on the whiteboard. That's positive by like $50, $60 a week. Or I can have 3 properties that are each around 300,000. These are just rough figures as well. It could be a $500,000 property, $200,000 property, $1 million property, but these are just rough figures. I would rather have 3 times $300,000 properties that are worth a combined of $900,000, almost $1 million. And yes, they're each negative by $15 per week after council rates, water rates, management fees, and insurance, as opposed to just having 1 that's positive by $50, $60 a week. And the reason why that is, and I'll show it to you in a second, is because you have the compound growth on the total amount of properties you have. You have more properties going up in value, and equity sets you free more than cash flow. And I'll give you a live example of this right now. So let's say you've got 3 properties right here. I'll draw 3 very basic, ugly looking properties. They're each worth, let's say 300K each. And then you've got, or 1 property over here that is just 300,000. Now, maybe this property here is rented for, let's say, $580 per week right now. So the return on that is like 8.5. It's in the 8s off the top of my head. I don't have a calculator on me right now, but $580 per week off a $300,000 purchase price. Now, for those of you wondering where the hell you can get properties like this, we buy properties every single day in different markets, capital cities such as Perth and in Brisbane and even in Adelaide. But right now, Perth is the best market to be buying in 2023 and 2024, I firmly believe. And I am confident in telling you this because I have over 80 properties in my portfolio and I've been investing for quite some time. And that's why I've been all over the news tens and tens of times, all the channels, etc. Very experienced in this, and I've had a lot of success in building my portfolio and helping others as well. Also, the types of properties, these might not be a house on a 1,000 square meter block. It could be a townhouse, could be a unit, could be a 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom, 3-bedroom, could be a villa, could be a side of a duplex. The property type does not matter, believe it or not. Out of the 80 properties I have, I've got houses, townhouses, and units, and different types of properties as well. So you can mix and match, and if you can only afford 300, 400, then this is a perfect place to get started with. Let's say each of these properties, they're 300. They're each comparison between 3 300K properties and 1 300K property. Even if these are negative in cash flow, let's say by $15 per week, and that's after council rates, water rates, management fees, and insurance. So let's say, as an example, one of these properties, you buy a property for, let's say, 300,000, you do a 90% loan. So 300K purchase price, your loan's at 270,000. I'll do a very basic cash flow sheet here for you. Let's say the repayments on a loan of 270,000 is hypothetically, I don't know, 300 per week. Then let's say council rates, that's usually like $1,500 per year. Let's say we just round it up to $30 per week. Let's say it's a townhouse, so there's strata involved. So let's say that's $40 per week, right? Then let's say, as an example, water rates would be, let's say, another $20 per week. Landlord insurance would be, let's say, even it's $10 per week, as an example. If we add all that up, so that's 300, 330, 370, 410, 430 roughly. Let's just say it's $500. Let's just round it up. Plus miscellaneous, the total expenses are $500 per week. Let's say this property, as an example, is only rented for $485 per week. So that means after council rates, water rates, management fees, insurance, strata includes the building insurance, all that kind of stuff, and the property's already tenanted, it's gonna cost $500 per week to hold, but we're only getting $485 per week in cash flow. All that, the miscellaneous was also property management fees. So council rates, water rates, management fees, insurance, strata, all that kind of stuff. We'll just say these are hypothetical numbers, and I can send you through examples of properties that we bought exactly like this and exactly like the other ones. So we're negative $15 per week on each property. So that's negative essentially $45 per week to hold. So what's that per year? It's around, let's say, $2,000. We'll round it up to $2,000 per year. So to hold 3 properties, it's only going to be negative $2,000 per annum. Whereas this property right here, let's say it's 580 and it was only, again, let's say 500 per week to hold, same cash, same council rates, water rates, management fees, insurance as that. So this one here, it's only $500 per week to hold, but we're getting 580 per week. So that's positive $80 per week, which times by 52 weeks in a year. I don't have a calculator on me at the moment, but let's just say it's positive, as an example, $3,500 per year. Now I know these aren't the right numbers, and I know that I'm just calculating off the top of my head, but you've positive $80 per week, so you might be $3,500 per year, $4,000 per year, whatever it is. But this is putting money in your pocket, and yes, that's a big positive. What a key thing to remember, I would rather have this scenario over here than this scenario over here, because personally, I don't know about everyone else out there, but even when I was working at McDonald's, or when I was a bartender, or when I was just doing one single job, or whatever it is when I was younger, a person could still find a way to come up with $2,000 per year, right? That's $45 per week. People probably spend more on lunch, coffees, Subway, McDonald's, outings, going out to drink, restaurants, whatever it is, more than $45 per week. So if you're working out there, I'm sure you could come up with $45 per week. And if you can, which I'm sure all of you could if you tried, I would rather have 3 properties than just 1 property being positive. And the reason why that is because each of these properties, let's say, and I'm not going into the exact example of right this second of how you buy these 3 properties, but that's in another video and all the other videos that I've done of how to buy, 10 properties in 3 years, how to make your first $1 million in property. That other video will come up, and then it'll give you a strategy on how to turn 1 property into 2, into 3, 4, 5, 6, and keep going. In the beginning, and I'm doing this video again to show you that it's not just about trying to make an extra $80 per week, or $50 or $20 per week, especially right now, October, November 2023, and the interest rates are like 6.5%, 7%. Now, that's what they were when I first started property investing. Yes, they're the highest they've been in the last 12 years. So you shouldn't be investing for trying to make $40, $50, $60, $80 per week right now. You should be investing so that you have 10 or 15 or 20 or 6 or whatever it is, as many properties as you can, that will be one day positive cash flow and that will grow in value. Each of these are worth 300,000. I'm not talking about yet buying them under market value. I'm not talking about the growth yet or anything like that, or the cash flow. That's 900K worth of real estate. It's only costing me $2,000 a year to hold. Over here is only 300,000. Let's say in 12 months, as an example, 12 months, the property market goes up by 10%. Which, as an example, Perth right now, it's gone up by 20%, I've seen in most areas in the last like 6 to 12 months. So it's already jumped up 20%. If you look at the big banks and all the property economists and the reports and everything, they're forecasting another 8 to 10% growth over the next 12 months in Perth, and they're forecasting 30 to 40% growth in Perth over the next 3 to 4 years. So let's just say the market jumps up 10%. 10% on 900,000 is $90,000 in equity. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that 10% on 300K is only 30K. So in this scenario, I've made $60,000 more. The difference is 60K, 60,000, excuse the writing and the messiness, but 60,000. Now, just because I've went more aggressive and I've tried to buy more properties and I'm not caring too much about the cash flow, and that's after all council rates, water rates, management fees, insurance, all that kind of stuff. So I'm only negative $15 per week on these properties. Comparing the cash flow positive one over here, yes, it's gone up 30,000. Let's do the exact breakdown. It's gone up 30,000. We've made 10% in the first year. Hooray, congratulations. But we've also made 3,500, hypothetically. So we've really made 33,500 in the first year in cash flow and in equity. Now these ones have lost 2,000 per year. So I've made 60 minus 2K is still $58,000. So even with the negative cash, I'm still going to get tax deductions on or paying all the fees and being able to negative year the property, council rates, water rates, management fees, and insurance. 58,000 is still better than 33.5. It wins hands down every day of the week. You say, yes, but what if I lose my job? Then how am I going to come up with $2,000 per year, which is $45 a week? So 3 properties only cost you $45 per week. Now, what I've personally seen in my own portfolio after, let's say 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, the first property gets a rent increase. The rent jumps up by $50. So now we're positive $50 per week off property. These can still be negative 15. Property 2 and 3 can still be negative $15 per week. And that one was negative $15 per week. So we were negative $45 per week, just one of the properties. The rent's gone up $50. Now we're no longer negative $45 per week. We're positive $5 per week with just one tiny, incy-wincy tiny rental increase, which happens all the time. It happens almost every year throughout Australia. Let's say we put up the other ones as well. Then that's not 50, it's 150. Well, then the whole in portfolio, just 3 properties, turns from being negative $45 a week to now $105 positive per week. So the cash flow can change dramatically within 3 to 6 months. People look at the book, 30 Properties Before 30 that I've done, but people look at that book, they look at the cash flow sheets, they're like, oh, I've got to have positive cash flow, positive cash flow. What you don't understand is that I had lots of properties myself that were not always positive cash flow. Some were like this, negative 15, negative $50 a week, that is okay. But some are also positive by $60, $70 per week as well. So they kind of balanced each other out. Don't get too hung up on positive cash flow from day one. This scenario right here, you can turn a neutral or negative cash flow property very positive with literally a very, very basic inflation increase of rental income. I hope this video helps. And if you have any questions, comment below. There's other videos that will explain exactly how you instead of just buying one property, how you can use the same amount of equity to buy 3 by buying it under market value. As always, guys, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not an accountant, but I am a successful property investor. I would say myself, I'm probably one of the most successful property investors in Australia. I'm only 32, I have over 80 properties in my portfolio. And I'm doing these videos basically just to share as much information, to save maybe a few questions coming my way that I have to repeat 1,000 times. But I appreciate all your questions. I appreciate the support. Thank you so much for watching. Comment below, smash the subscribe button. See you in the next video. Bye for now.